Welcome to the Industry Insider, brought to you by Promo Corner. Each week, promotional product professionals Meg Erber, Jeff Franklin, and Stephen McFadden, along with special guests, will discuss industry news, trends, and events with a focus on educating the promotional products industry. The Industry Insider, the nerdy news you need to know.
Welcome back to yet another exciting episode of the Industry Insider, your promotional products podcast where you can get all the nerdy news you need to know about. My name is Jeff Franklin, National Accounts Manager with Headwear USA, joined today by three other lovely folks. And how good was that intro, you guys? Steve, you did an awesome
No
job
one prepared me for that.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that we didn't tell Taylor that was happening.
Yeah.
So
How good was it, Taylor? How good was
That was
it?
amazing. Did one of you guys do that? Like who put that together?
No,
Oh,
Meg, get out of here. That was not.
no, Steven did. It was awesome.
So, Stephen, was that you yourself or did you
No.
Fiverr that?
I Fiverred that. That was
Yeah.
they did that overnight. Like I sent it to him and I got it back the next morning. I'm like, yep, that was great. Thank you so much.
So as many times as I've watched and listened to that intro up to this point, I had never heard the background music during the speakers speaking.
Oh yeah.
And for whatever reason, I heard it just faintly in the background. So
Yeah.
we might have to get that audio clip.
We
from
don't have the
audio.
audio isolated, so it was like the best we could do. And I'm like, it'll work. It'll work.
Well, like I said, I've watched it, I don't know, 6, 7, 19 times, and I've never heard it until just now. So anyhow, exciting episode today. Like I said, last week's episode, we talked about something really fun and exciting that's coming up. And we're kind of going to lean heavily on Stephen McFadden and Taylor Borst for this episode. But of course, Taylor, before we get into the podcast, it is customary to give our special guest a good 3 to 4 minutes to introduce yourself, maybe tell us how you got started in the promotional products industry and what you've been up to since. So first of all, thank you for joining us and take it away.
perfect. Thanks for having me, you guys. I know it's been a while since we've done a promo or like a industry insider together. So this is great. And I know Meg and Steven, we just got to hang out a few weeks ago in New Orleans for an SNS event. So this is kind of fun timing for how this is all playing out. And then we'll see each other at Promotions East next week. So thank you again for having me on. Like Jeff said, my name is Taylor Borst. I'm the Senior Director of Marketing and Vendor Relations at American Solutions for Business. If you're not familiar, we are a top distributor in the industry based in Glenwood, Minnesota, but we have about 600 salespeople all over the country. And so with my role, I'm really, targeting or I'm at the home office, the headquarters, and overseeing all of those teams. So anyway, how I got started in the industry, we all have kind of that like famous story of, you were either like born into it or you found it on accident. You had absolutely no idea. Well, I can tell you I have 0 family members in this industry. So I definitely stumbled on accident. So I graduated from college with a degree in professional communications and media. And I had no idea that this existed, but just kind of found it on total accident. Interviewed for American Solutions for Business when I was, 22 years old, fresh out of college. And so I've been there for about 8.5 years, which is wild. I mean, that seems insane how quickly time goes by. But anyway, so I've been fortunate enough. I've had 5 different roles within ASB, and it just keeps getting more and more interesting and fun and enriching. And we just keep getting to meet new people and get involved in new opportunities. So it's great.
Very cool. Well, Taylor, I guess you get to be the first Borst in the promotional products industry, and there will just be a whole legacy of Borsts moving forward. Because I feel like once somebody gets involved in the industry, there's other family members that then somehow trickle in and just it blows up. So, Stephen, how are you doing today? First of all,
I'm good. I'm traveling in case you can't tell. I'm in Denver, Colorado currently for a Facilis owner Q manager meeting for the next couple of days. So I'm technically in session right now. So I had to dip out.
SNS.
So if any of them see this, I know that they are not in session either. So it's like it's on them if they want to call me out, that means they were not paying attention. So so I'm running around here. Got 3 weeks of travel lined up. So if my wife sees this, I'm sorry, and I miss you all, and I'll be back soon. So you guys know how that goes, but yeah. So no, I'm here for a few days. It's awesome. We get to kind of collaborate with other owners. Learn about the state of the industry, state of our systems, state of all the employees. It's pretty neat. And then we get to do some roundtables and some discussions. So got to learn and take away what I can and bring it back to the office. So.
Nice. And Meg, question of the day: have you showered today?
Yes. And today was the first day that I dressed myself and even put my dressings back on all by myself, and it wiped me out. But
yeah. How's the bicep doing?
It's still attached, I think. I will say it's the one thing that I didn't anticipate was how weak I was going to feel after this surgery. And I'm like, the pain is definitely tolerable. I stopped taking all medicines last week because they were making me so sick, but the weakness, because it's like you have this your back is like a puzzle piece, right? And you pull out like one little chunk of it, the rest of it kind of caters and like leans and so everything is just but and my hair, my dog, that's the hardest thing is just, I think, having someone to do my hair. But I'm at the mercy of my children and VJ.
There you go. That's cool. Well, I'm glad to hear that it's coming along. Super excited to see all of you guys next week at Promotions East. But Taylor, we are talking today about promo horrors. Okay. And if for anybody that's not aware of promo horrors, it was a podcast that Stephen and Taylor did together. What was it, 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago even? I mean, it's been a minute.
2019.
Wow.
Does that sound right to you too, Stephen?
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that. I was trying to get on SoundCloud real quick to find out how long this actually was. I want to say it was 18 or 19, but yeah, it's been a minute.
So here's our biggest flex, though, Stephen. We haven't really talked about this. We did it pre-pandemic, right? Everybody came out with their podcast during the pandemic. We did ours the October, a year or two before that. And I remember this was totally Stephen's idea. He kind of called me randomly one day. We got to know each other really well. We were on the Spark board through PPAI together. And so, just randomly, Stephen's like, hey, I have this idea for this podcast just for the month of October. Let's interview one person a day and get their horror stories. And I'm like, holy shit, this is going to be a big... Sorry if we're not allowed to swear on this podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's encouraged.
Perfect. But I'm like, this is going to be a lot, but it sounds super fun and just like a cool chance to just like have a different type of conversation with individuals in the industry. Because so often we're talking about our success stories and what's ahead and all this great stuff, but we don't always get to hear like these funny kind of painful stories where, they somehow had to figure out how to navigate and get through it. And I think that what was really cool about it is that you start to feel a lot more connected and way better about some of the snafus that maybe you've dealt with individually, because you're like, oh, this is across the board. Everybody has had wild things that just happen.
Mm-hmm. I did look. It was October of 19, so we do get the props of pre-pandemic.
Did. Was it video or all audio?
All audio.
Yeah, it was all audio. Because you know what? Because it was pre-pandemic, people weren't used to being on like a webcam, and it sounds wild now, but it's like, we wouldn't be able to see them. Like, and that's so important. I know you guys know better than anybody. You have to like read body language and understand facial expressions and all that stuff. And we really didn't go off of that. But Stephen, how do you remember all of that going down?
Yeah, so the concept was there, and I think we both agreed like this would be really fun. And we were trying to figure out how do we do it, because we were like, do we just do it once a week? But then that's only like 4 stories, and then that wouldn't be really enough. And so I think I had the crazy idea, like, let's do it every day. And we won't do weekends, but we ended up with 22 episodes just for October.
That's
and
crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. And I learned a lot from this. I'm like, all right, well, we'll just do batch recording, because this is back when we were doing batch recording. And so we kind of lined up who we thought the guests would be. And yeah, we had 22 different stories. I think we did it over like 4 days of recording or 5 days of recording, something like that. It wasn't a ton of days, but we blocked off like, an hour where we'd knock out 3 of them or something like that. So it was cool. One of the biggest things that I think we had to figure out, and part of why we're going into this is and explaining it, is we're going to be doing something similar here on our platform, was figuring out, and this is where Taylor came in. How do we get people on here that just aren't bashing people? Everyone wants that outlet of just complaining about a horror story, but we didn't want it to be that. So Taylor, maybe you can, I don't know if you remember some of the criteria you helped come up with. I've got some of it.
I completely forgot about that part of it, Stephen. But you're 100% right. It's all coming back to me right now. Like we wanted to make sure that, we weren't negatively impacting anybody in this project. We wanted it to be like, so I think that if it had something to do with like a supply chain or inventory issue, they weren't allowed to talk about which vendor it was or like drop any specific clues there. I think some of it, we encouraged them to talk about if the failure was on their side, to talk about it, because if it's your failure, it's so much, you kind of own that part of the story and you get to decide kind of what you're comfortable with sharing. But I remember, we had just a range of different types of stories. Like some had to do with like, oh, I couldn't get inventory or whatever. But okay, Stephen, remind me, there was one where somebody like actually found a body or something, right?
Yeah, that was no, that's dead. That was the dead side, not don't talk about it. Yeah, so
we definitely talked about it on the podcast.
Shout out to Ben with Bam Bams. That was he had a customer, and to kind of reiterate, we could talk about the suppliers, but only if it then showed like the above and beyond ways that they went to fix these horror stories. Right. But yeah, his story involved someone who had an order and couldn't get it through customs, and so they finally couldn't get hold of the customer, couldn't get a hold of the distributor buyer, and come to find out when they went to check on them, they were no longer. So couldn't get it through customs and had to do all sorts of crazy stuff. But there, you never realize like all of the things that can go wrong in an order.
Yeah, that was a very literal, like spooky.
Yeah, we're gonna have coming up in October too. We're gonna do this series with myself, Jeff, and Meg as well. And
that's why we're talking about this, because we're kind of setting a precedent for the next few weeks here. That's all.
Yeah, but I feel like we're misleading folks, because if you're expecting the 3 of us to put together 22 episodes in the month of October, get stuffed. Not happening.
That's not happening.
I think you guys are approaching it right.
No, you guys actually. So here's what I wanted to say about what you guys did in 2019, pre-pandemic, for all the babies out there. Look, it was such a good format and so refreshing to have something that was fresh content, that wasn't long term. I think that's something that's really difficult to do when you go, when you go through the marathon of, creating content, is staying fresh and relevant so that you keep people engaged. And I think you guys doing that short format thing is really what kept, people engaged and active in that. And the fact that it was just for a certain season and a certain time frame, and and they were fairly short, if I'm not mistaken, too, right? Weren't they like 10, 15, maybe 20-minute episodes?
Yep. Yeah, they were.
Yeah, the longest or the shortest run was like in the 12, 13-minute range. Longest one was probably the one where I rambled about my own story, if I had to guess. 22 minutes. So that'll happen. You guys know me enough by now. But yeah, no, it was cool. And we are gonna bring back one or two of those stories in October that were like highlights from that. So
yeah, I was just going to ask, so what can we expect over the next couple of weeks? What can we expect, you guys? Well, I know next week we are going live from the show. So that's not going to be included. So the first week is going to be live from Promotions East, but then the following 3 or 4 weeks of October, right, we're going to be doing these live. So that should be fun. But what can we expect?
So I think there's a couple good ones lined up, and there's a few mysteries because I don't know these people's horror stories, which is fun. But one of the people we're bringing back, Taylor, you might remember Rich Patterson.
Yeah, his is great.
His was fantastic, and so he's gonna share that story with us. I think what's really cool is, as Taylor mentioned, is it's just a very humbling experience because we're gonna go through these, and you'll see things in your own story that are very much relevant. It's like, yep, I've been through that before. Oh, yours went a little more sideways than mine did. It's just, but that's the industry we're in, where every day is different, every project's different. You're working with hundreds and hundreds of suppliers and hundreds of customers. Anything can go wrong, and that's what we found out. So, any highlights that you remember, Taylor? There was some wild ones from back then.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to I just remember. You know what? I don't even know if I remember the individual stories. I think what stands out to me is just the people that we would interview would get, they would get transported back into it, and people got, you could see them kind of, or not see them, I guess you could hear them reliving, the experience in it. And so that's what stands out to me. And the other thing that I was going to add about this, I was kind of reflecting, before jumping on today and everything, about that whole experience doing that. And what I realized is that I am so grateful that we just went for it and did it, because what it did is make me so much more comfortable to create content in that format, so that when the pandemic did hit, it didn't feel like such a jump in creating more virtual content where you're not face to face. And so I think if anybody takes anything out of this, regardless of the, October promo horrors, anything, I think it's when you have these kind of opportunities, just go for it. Just do the thing. And you don't know how it's going to serve you down the line. And I'm sure that you guys are finding too, that even in doing this podcast so consistently, that this kind of drips into other parts of your career too.
Oh, 100%.
I have to ask you, Taylor, just like you had a very natural reaction to our intro, do you remember the cringy intro we had for the podcast?
Do you have it, Stephen?
I do.
Oh my God. It was you, wasn't it? You recorded yourself.
Doing a voiceover of with scary music behind me.
Oh my God.
I didn't hear it.
I'm trying to sound menacing, and
is there a way, I feel like in the live stream, can you just drop a link or something to one of them? I think the audience would probably love to check out what we're talking about.
Yeah, I can't even really listen to it back myself. It's they say when you hear your voice back, you get damage points.
Yeah, you can't do it. No,
but it's worse.
Jeff, do you have any promo stories? Maybe he can do that. If you're telling a story, because I know I can't simultaneously.
I don't know if he'll be able to find it. Stephen, you're probably working from a laptop, right?
Yeah, I posted the link to it in there.
Oh, you did post a link.
Awesome.
All right.
If you guys want to.
Do you have a promo horror story, Jeff? Do you have any horror stories? Being a distributor on your other side.
There's certainly some not great stories that I could come up with. One in particular that comes off the top of my head was a very large, because of course it's anything that's like a massive order that just has to go perfect, and a client that's constantly gives you way less time than you need to actually get the order through, right? So of course this was our second or third order with this guy for this particular project. And it was, 2 or 3 times a year that they would place this order. It was 40 or 50,000 hats. And the logo had recently changed, and it was a very small change. So this logo happens to be a rectangular box, and the registration mark before was on the inside of the box after the name, of the company, and they had moved the registration box to the outside of of the box. So, of course, we're trying to get a jump on the order. We've got to get proofing done because the client doesn't give us the information that we need right away. And, so just trying to like get a jump start on it. So we submit the sample request with the logo, and then the new logo was never provided. So the entire order ends up getting approved and produced, even though we did a sample and we had images and all that stuff was approved. We did the entire like 40 or 50,000 cap order with the wrong logo. Now, luckily, it wasn't something that the end user was like too pissy about, but that was certainly, a situation where it could have been damning, and it ended up okay. But
wow.
Yeah. What about you, Meg? I'm sure you've got some good stories.
So, I mean, probably a lot, but the one that really like just jars me to this day is during Maskageddon when that happened, and when the masks hit, and we were just trying to stay above water, trying to get them out the door, and we just couldn't keep up with the amount of sales that were coming in and orders. They were just small orders, and it was just tumultuous to try to keep up with it. I'm not going to say the distributor or even the end user, but the customer had ordered 100,000 of them, and they needed them to the point where they were going to overnight them from Reno. Right? Exactly. You know how much that's going to cost. So it just kept getting pushed back. And I'm like, these have to go today. Like, they have to go. And after, finally getting them out the door, I saw that they had gone ground. And it doesn't seem like it's a big deal. But in the stress levels at that point were on a scale of 1 to 10. They were probably like a 97.9. And it was like, we need our masks, and they went UPS ground. I threatened to quit. I was like, you need to, I don't know who you is, but you need to go and get UPS to turn that truck back around and reship those UPS overnight. And by the grace of God, that happened. Our ops team out in Nevada made that happen. And that's like an act of God. You guys know that. You guys have been in this industry. To get UPS ground, do anything is an act of God. So we were able to get them pulled back and then reshipped all the cartons, and we got them out to the customer. But man, that was like a nightmare to me. So if you guys remember how bad the masks were, like when we didn't have them, we were trying to get them out, and I was getting like death threats, and I'm like, it'd be 11 o'clock at night, and I would be like, I have to sleep. I can't do this anymore. But yeah, I never want to go back to that again, ever.
Hey, Taylor, I was just looking through the link that Jeff just posted. I don't know that I realized all the people that we had on there. Kind of reflecting back, do you
why
remember?
Why don't you read them off for us?
This is I'll be honest. We get a big pat on the back because I don't even know that I was really as connected as I am now in the industry. So I think this is you pulling some strings on a lot of these. But we had Charity, Danny Rosen, Rich Green. We did 2 episodes of user stories. Do you remember those? We actually requested submissions of people to submit their horror stories.
Yeah, that's right.
We then read those aloud and kind of discussed those.
That's cool.
Brittany Gotzi, Curdy Hausman, Joe Douglas, Chuck Fandos, Christina, Mike with Origadio, Dana Zezzo, Susan Lewandowski, Ben Chazen with Bam Bams, Paul Bellantone, Lexus, Rich Patterson, Steve Rohn. I had one of my customers come on, Kate Plummer, Bill Petrie, you, and me.
Oh, man.
So that was pretty wild.
So I don't know if it's going to work. Like if I pop this up and share my screen, if the audio will come through. Would you guys want to give the intro a listen real quick?
Yeah.
If it'll work?
Yes.
Steven remove himself.
I can't even do it.
We're doing it. Yeah.
All right.
You just doing the intro?
Let's see if we can do this. I can't guarantee any results here, but we'll see.
If it starts, I'm gone.
Is it playing? Oh
No.
Man, that's a bummer.
Oh,
you know what?
The other day.
Okay, you know what? I know how to do it if you really want me to do it.
We really want to hear it. We really want to hear it.
You know what? I'm also remembering Hit Promo sponsored this podcast.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do it, but I'm not happy about it.
No.
Let's see.
Devin, go back to bed. It's Tuesday, right? Wednesday. It's Wednesday.
Here we go, baby. Here we go.
I'm pulling it up on my phone, and I'll play it.
Well, if for
Really
some reason we
building this
can't get that to
suspense.
work, I will definitely have to download an episode and upload the audio clip into
No,
StreamYard.
unfortunately, Jeff, it's gonna work.
Unfortunately, well, either way, people are going to hear it. It's gonna happen.
Okay, are we ready?
We're ready.
We're ready. Let's do it.
Oh, geez.
The suspense.
They keep you up at night. They haunt you in your dreams. They will always find you. And there is no escape. Welcome to the new miniseries, where each day we will hear the scariest, most horrifying tales from both distributors and suppliers throughout the month of October. This is Promo Horrors, the haunting tales of your nightmare orders, hosted by Taylor Borst and Stephen McFadden.
Oh my gosh. I see why you're gone.
So I think we just experienced Steven's promo horror.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I have a question. Why was it so long? It was so long.
Yeah. No, honestly, the music was great.
My cheeks hurt right now. My cheeks literally hurt. This is the most I've laughed in a week.
I forgot about
All
the
right.
little like bells at the beginning.
I definitely like the music. There was a good tone to it. It set the tone, Steven. I'll give you
I
that.
really feel like
All right?
that should have been part of our intro.
Yeah,
almost.
why don't you guys just include that? New intro.
I'm good.
That might be our outro next week. I don't know.
Ooh. I like it.
And if anyone would like to, think about being a host on this podcast coming up, I'm going to be gone indefinitely.
Well, Steven, you and I both may end up being gone. I'm not sure. But look, I'm super excited about the platform, about this particular little mini series that we're going to do. So, Steven and Taylor, thank you both for allowing us to sort of bring that into the Industry Insider, and give the audience a little bit of fun over the course of Halloween. It'll be a good time. And of course, next week we've got John Cudahy joining us, Executive Director of SAGNY, and I'm sure we'll hear a promo. What's that?
Is he the youngest?
That's scary.
I'm sure that we'll. It is very scary, actually.
Sorry,
I'm
Meg, your turn.
having trouble sleeping as it is leading up to it. Each day gets worse and worse. But super excited to have him on, and of course, I'm sure we'll hear a little promo horror from him. Maybe even having to do with putting on a large show like Promotions East. Who knows? All right. Well, Meg, Steven, anything else to add to this very spooky and frightening episode of Industry Insider?
No, I do want to give a shout out to Paul Corey over at Burnside. He knew I was having surgery and sent me a bunch of the boyfriend flannel shirts that I could wear this week because it's the only thing I could get on. Hopefully next week I'll be able to wear some normal clothes to the show, but big shout out. That's so appreciative. Thank you so much. That's it.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Taylor, anything to add? Any questions for us?
Ooh, well, you kind of answered, some of the promo horror stories. But I just wanted to thank you guys for having me on. And I'm so happy to hear that you guys are, continuing this illustrious legacy that Stephen and I created with our promo horror series.
Yeah, I don't know that we'll live up to it, but we're gonna try. We're gonna try. Maybe we'll get Steven to voice record an outro for us.
Yeah.
I think, Steven, you think we can make that work? Next week when you're in.
If you really want me to, I'll do it. But
I think we need to put that together.
Sponsorship reads like that. Ooh.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, listen, I had a great time today. Thank you so much, Taylor, for joining us. And of course, until next week when we see you live from Promotions East, we'll be seeing you next time. Take care, guys.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Promo Corner's Industry Insider. For more great content from industry thought leaders, including podcasts, blogs, and videos, visit promocorner.com.